The next step we're going to use is we're going to use the surveyor. I'm gonna put this in the jig. And we're going to use the surveyor to see the inclinations of the preparations. So we want to make sure that we know exactly what the path of insertion is going to be for the attachment. So we have to incline the model so that we don't observe any undercuts in the preparations. So in case we have a place where the preparation is undercut, then we know that the attachment will be necessary. So we have to go through everything. So if we see an undercut like this, it's right under there. We know that the inclination of the tooth is too far forward. So all of these have similar undercuts except for this one. So if we look at this one here, number 14 also has an undercut. Very tiny, what is it? So that means that we have to adjust so that we can either put this one in first or this section in first. So the way we decide that is that if we want to put the front section in first, then we have to take the attachment and we have to make sure that the section that is going in last is going to be supported by an abutment, which is this one. So the pontic here, if it's gonna go in second, which will go in second because that's what needs to be supported, then the box portion of the attachment needs to be on the canine. So let's go back and let's tilt this so that we can get rid of that distal undercut here. So what we're going to do is we're going to tilt the model forward a little bit. And check. So now we no longer have an undercut there. So we're gonna go back and forth all the way around the teeth, making sure that we have no undercuts anywhere around, because then we know that this section is going to go straight down, and the attachment itself will need to be parallel to the section of the bridge that is inserted last. So we're gonna take a look at these, making sure that these preparations we can draw in one piece also. So now that we know that these parts are parallel, we have to make sure that this section is also going to draw which it does. There's no undercuts anywhere, so this part is good. Now we have to readjust it to the posterior portion. Because this is what we need for parallelism of the attachment. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to replace the analyzing rod with the attachment. Place back bridge in the front. So what we have to do now is we need to attach the box portion of the attachment to the canine, because that's going to be the rest area. This particular attachment attaches from the top, so we must put the box into the canine. Sometimes if it's too passive, we may need to put a drop of wax to hold it up. But what we'll do now is we will need to soften the dislocation. And then seat the box inside the canine all the way down. Once we did that, we're going to seal it in into the crown. Now we need to make sure that the attachment is perfectly lines up with the other portion of the bridge, both in the vertical and the horizontal position. So the vertical, which is buccolingual, needs to be aligned so that the box itself goes perfectly buckle lingually. This one is a little bit off, so we're gonna have to move it. So we have to kind of take this out first and put it back onto the mill. Let's put a drop of wax on there. So it doesn't come off. We're going to have to take that wax off before we invest it. A little bit, make sure it's aligned properly. We also have to make sure that we have all of that attachment inside the crown. So let's melt it again. Notice it's not a one-shot deal. You can take it in and out. Just make sure that each time the wax ups are completely seated. Try to make sure that this is as far and as close to the preparation as possible. Side again. That should be okay. Took it out. Okay, let's place it back. And that should be. Soften it up again. Turn it a little bit. Okay, that should be alright. You also want to make sure that the attachment is not too far to the buckle. so that in case we want to put porcelain on it, we have enough room. So now we're going to seal it in. And then wait for the wax to burn a little bit. Then we're gonna pull out the lid. So we hold this part down. Light the male. As we can see, the female is in there now. So what we're going to do is we're going to completely seal it so that it doesn't come out anymore. That's the first part. Okay, now that we're placed in the female attachment into the canine and it's paralleled with the parallelism of the molar and the premolar, so the angle of this attachment is angled with the draw or with the parallelism of these abutments. So this is parallel with these walls and all the mesiobuccal walls of the abutment. So then we're gonna clean this up. I'm gonna make sure that everything is perfectly neat and there are no wax and debris on this surface at all. There are no wax and debris on this surface here at all. You see how there's a little wax on there now? We have to take that off. So you take the Holland back carver and we just make sure it's carved off of there. So we need to place this attachment in or lingually from the surface of the tooth. In case we need to put porcelain on the labial of this, we need space, so we place the attachment more towards the lingual. Take off the excess. This attachment needs to be put as close as possible to the margin so that we have as much length as possible. because we don't know how much length we have on the premolar section. Okay, so once we clean this up, then we put it back on the model. And we see if this part fits back, which we see it's a little tight. So what we will have to do is we'll need to take away a little more from the interproximal of this, or we can just go ahead and melt it a little bit. And once we soften the wax, we can put it down in here. So once we did that, we're pretty much even. So we can take it out again and see where it was touching the attachment. And then what we'll do is we will put the male inside the female. But as we can see here, it's somewhat tight now. That is probably because of this piece of wax here that we did not notice before. So now we try again. And it still doesn't fit. What happened is we touched it here with a hot instrument. So now we have a little lip on here. So what we need to do is we need to just take a knife and very carefully just take that away. So let's try that again. There's always little things that may happen along the way, and we'll need to learn how to correct them. So now it's good. But in the process of me cutting off that, I cracked this attachment to the adjacent tooth. So all we have to do is just melt it again and it will be joined. Just have to make sure that we wait for it to cool before we move it, or before we try to move on to the next step. Again, we make sure that this attachment is free of wax. It should be cool enough now, so we can place that in, just like that. And we will probably need to soften this up again, because this has a thickness right here. So we're gonna soften this. You don't have to do it too deep because this is not a very thick attachment, so just put it down in there. If it's not enough, then we can always go back and soften it a little more. And then it goes down all the way. So we have a little bit of material. And now we're going to take this and we're going to attach the nail that part of the attachment to the pontic. And this will not only join it together with the canine, but will also act as a rest. So as you put pressure on the pontic, the canine will stop it from going down any further. So now we can try to remove it. As I tried to remove it, I noticed that it kind of cracked off a little bit, so we'll have to join it again. Just make sure that you don't melt the attachment as you're joining it to the wax. And don't heat the wax too much, because it's gonna go in between the two pieces of attachment and it might glue them together, and then you have to take both of them out and then put them into the wax ups again. So we need to wait a little bit for this to harden up. Once it's hard, I'll try to take this out, just like that. So now this is attached into the wax up. Now we just attach it even more. And clean up the edges. Then make sure it goes back in pretty passively and straight down. So afterwards we take a hot instrument and we cut it right here. and that's how we put the attachment inside, and the considerations for the attachment. So remember, the attachment, the female attachment goes into the abutment that supports the bridge, and that part of the attachment, that part of the bridge goes in first. The part of the bridge that goes in second has the pontic right here, and that pontic has the male part of the attachment which slides into the female. So that will be supported by the canine or by the abutment.